The drunkest countries in the world. Around the world, alcohol can often be found at the heart of celebration and relaxation. Where some cultures view alcohol as a basis of tradition and culture, others see it as a means of socializing. One thing is certain, however, some nations truly know how to consume alcohol, possibly to the point of excess, and there are countries on this list that have total alcohol purchases exceeding the yearly GDP of some nations. Every year, countries around the world are measured according to how much pure alcohol has been consumed on average per person of 15 years of age or older. Click through this gallery to see the results. History. Alcohol's true origin remains steeped in mystery, but the first signs of it have been traced all the way to 7000 BCE when a fermented drink was produced in ancient China from wild yeast and honey. In fact, the world's oldest known recipe isn't for food, it's actually a guide on how to brew beer. Global consumption. On a global level, the alcoholic beverages market is valued at around $1.62 trillion annually. Europe is by far the biggest consumer of any continent on the planet, but there are some Asian countries that appear on the list as well. Now, let's see which countries drink the most. You may also like the alcoholic beverage of choice in all 50 states. 25. Slovakia. Arriving at the bottom of the list is the Central European country of Slovakia, with an average yearly pure alcohol consumption of 2.77 gallons, 10.48 liters. Interestingly, Slovakia's standard shot glass size is 1.7 ounces, 50 milliliters, while it's usually around 1.5 ounces, 44 milliliters, in other countries around the world. 24. Cook Islands. People living on the Cook Islands in the Pacific Ocean are incredibly fond of spirits, especially rum, which adds to their annual per capita consumption of 2.79 gallons, 10.56 liters. You may also like the most asked why questions on Google. 23. Hungary. Hungary has some of the cheapest alcohol prices out of any country in the European Union, which has also added to the fact that the nation has some of the highest rates of alcoholism in the world. On average, the country consumes 2.8 gallons, 10.6 liters, annually per capita. 22. United Kingdom. Citizens of the United Kingdom are statistically more likely to binge drink than in other European countries. There, the consumption per capita sits at 2.86 gallons, 10.82 liters, yearly. You may also like massively successful celebrities with disabilities. 21. Belarus. At one point in the past, Belarus had an increasing alcohol control problem, and many efforts were made to curb the country's consumption. However, years later, the Eastern European nation still drinks more than most others, with a per capita consumption of 2.87 gallons, 10.9 liters. 20. Spain. Alcohol is a particularly beloved aspect of Spanish culture, and the nation's wine and sangria are adored all over the world. Spain's annual consumption per capita sits at about 2.88 gallons, 10.91 liters. You may also like famous women on the power of being alone. 19. Slovenia. Slovenians certainly love beer and wine, but their favorite is the national drink, schnapps. Making schnapps is a national pastime. The adoration for this beverage and others has resulted in an average yearly consumption of 2.9 gallons, 10.98 liters, per capita. 18. Andorra. Andorra is one of the smallest countries in the world, and they also have some of the lowest taxes on food and alcohol. Indeed, the tax on food in this European nation is only 1%, while alcohol tax is a mere 4.5%. As a result, the nation's yearly consumption per capita sits at 2.92 gallons, 11.05 liters. 17. Estonia. The Baltic country of Estonia has an average annual alcohol consumption of 2.97 gallons, 11.26 liters, per capita. Interestingly, the prices of goods and services in the country are rising rapidly, but the cost of hard alcohol has actually become cheaper. 16. France. France is known for its culture of food and wine, both of which are deeply embedded. France produces around 8 billion bottles of wine every year, and the country's alcohol consumption sits at 2.99 gallons, 11.3 liters, per capita. 15. Moldova. Moldova's annual per capita consumption is about 3 gallons, 11.36 liters, which is mostly attributed to the country's love of wine. Indeed, almost 3/4 of the alcohol consumed in Moldova is homemade wine. 14. Laos. Laos is a nation full of many ethnic groups with traditions and cultures of their own, but alcohol is an incredibly important aspect of Laotian society. It is customary, especially as a man, to never drink less than you are able to, which has added to the nation's per capita consumption of 3.04 gallons, 11.52 liters. 13. Luxembourg. Alcohol in Luxembourg is somewhat cheaper than in neighboring countries, and so many Belgians travel to the country to buy their favorite beverages. Luxembourg's average consumption is 3.05 gallons, 11.53 liters, per capita. 12. Poland. There is only one word that truly encapsulates Polish drinking culture: vodka. Poland is the largest market for vodka in the European Union, and their annual per capita consumption of 3.07 gallons, 11.63 liters, has remained steady over the years. 10. Lithuania. Arriving in 10th place on the list is another Baltic country, Lithuania. In this nation, beer is the preferred beverage, which accounts for about 44% of all the alcohol consumed in the country. Per capita, the nation's consumption sits at 3.11 gallons, 11.79 liters. 9. Bulgaria. Bulgaria's annual per capita consumption of 3.15 gallons, 11.92 liters, has been a major source of contention for the country. It has been estimated that almost 2% of Bulgaria's national health expenditure has been allocated to the treatment of diseases and injuries caused by alcohol. 8. Austria. Beer and wine are certainly the most popular beverages in Austria, where the per capita consumption sits at 3.16 gallons, 11.97 liters, annually. Unlike most other nations, the minimum age for purchasing alcohol is regulated at a regional level rather than a national level, where each region has its own requirements. 7. Seychelles. The East African island of Seychelles not only has a vibrant social environment that creates a thriving place for alcohol, but the nation also welcomes a plethora of tourists every year. This has caused the island's per capita consumption of 3.17 gallons, 11.99 liters, to rise over the years. 6. Uganda. Excessive drinking has been identified as one of the major sources of poverty in the East African country of Uganda. In this nation, the annual per capita consumption of pure alcohol is 3.22 gallons, 12.21 liters. 5. Germany. In 5th place is Germany, the nation that is intrinsically synonymous with beer, even though the beverage wasn't invented in the country. In 2021, Germany exported around $1.38 billion in alcoholic beverages, and their annual per capita consumption sits at about 3.23 gallons, 12.22 liters. 4. Latvia. The third and final Baltic country appears on this list with an average annual consumption of 3.46 gallons, 13.09 liters. Since the cold climate of Latvia is better suited to grains than grapes, vodka is incredibly popular. 3. Czech Republic. The Czech Republic arrives on this list in 3rd place. Here, the annual alcohol consumption is around 3.51 gallons, 13.29 liters, per capita. Every year, Czech households spend record high sums on alcohol, often reaching more than $4 billion in total. The Czech Republic is particularly proud of beer, and the country is renowned for inventing the iconic Pilsner. Interestingly, many households have also been known to brew beer at home. 2. Georgia. 2nd place goes to the country of Georgia, which has a per capita consumption of 3.79 gallons, 14.33 liters. Unlike other post-Soviet nations, Georgia is more inclined to drink wine rather than spirits. Georgia has an 8,000-year history of winemaking, and some companies today still use traditional and ancient methods. Cultural and religious traditions in the country are deeply connected to wine, while beer is used to toast only if they wish someone bad luck. 1. Romania. Arriving in first place as home to the heaviest drinkers in the world is the country of Romania, with a per capita consumption of 4.49 gallons, 16.99 liters, per year. Strong alcohol traditions add to the nation's purchase and production of such beverages. This Eastern European nation's most consumed beverage is beer, which is preferred by a third of the country. However, the country's traditional plum brandy, known as tuica, is incredibly popular, especially in rural areas.